in the place. Da-na-na-na, Mac and Perry.
Go live to create.
Da-na-na-na, Mac and Perry invite you to stay.
Welcome to On Location here in Lethbridge. I'm Michael.
I'm Daniel, and this is
Annae.
Yeah, so thanks so much for meeting with us, Annae. I'm really excited to learn about your artistic practice. What sort of art do you do?
Well, that's a great question. I do all sorts of art. I started out in acrylic doing landscape, and then as I developed my artistic practice, I've gone into mixed media, oil painting, and I do anything from very representational to very abstract and whimsical in between.
Nice, yeah. I'm looking forward to discussing your art and then, of course, seeing it with the showcase. First we do a little icebreaker games.
Okay.
Just to have a little fun and warm up. So the first one is trivia, and we have some Lethbridge trivia for you.
Okay.
How are you at trivia?
Terrible. I'm really terrible at trivia, but word games I'm great.
Okay, this is mostly trivia for this one. So but it'll be very simple. It's just about Lethbridge, multiple choice, very easy. What is the oldest business in Lethbridge? Is it A, Baylog Auction Services, B, the Penny Coffee House, C, Lethbridge Iron Works, or D, McKillop Insurance, if you had to guess?
Probably the Ironworks.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It was actually founded in 1898.
Wow.
It's Leth Iron now, but yeah, they've been around a while. I don't know when the other building or the other businesses were, but not nearly as long. Yeah, so see, easy. You got it right. You're good. So now Daniel's going to ask you a trivia question about Lethbridge.
All right. My piece of trivia for you is, before it became the Galt Museum, the Galt was A, an observatory, B, a coal plant, C, a hospital, or D, a dance studio.
It was definitely a coal plant. Am I wrong?
Yeah, unfortunately, it was C, a hospital.
Hospital. Oh.
Yeah, that's okay. 1 out of 2, not bad. Now we have some trivia that we prepared for Daniel and myself that you're going to ask us. So maybe, that would be my trivia for Daniel, I believe. So I guess, we'll start there. So you're going to ask him questions about me.
All right, Daniel. My first solo show was in Fort Macleod, and one summer, Michael said he biked through Fort Macleod on his way to Fernie, BC. While there, what interesting thing was taking place? A, a musical ride reenactment at the Fort Museum. B, the building the set of the Ghostbusters. C, stable to saddle, hands-on horse experience. Or D, Pedro Pascal was signing autographs.
Ooh, I feel like it's either Ghostbusters or Pedro Pascal, and Michael's not gonna give me any hints. I am gonna go with Ghostbusters.
That is correct. That's pretty awesome.
Right? Yeah, it was pretty cool. They were building all this set, and it was all it was not all the buildings were labeled what they actually were because they were different things. Like they had a Blockbuster video all of a sudden when that wasn't even around. So they were saying don't that's actually not a coffee shop anymore, and it was fun to see them building the whole set. So.
Oh, that's so neat.
Yeah, it was neat. All right, so now we've got some trivia about Daniel for me that you can ask me.
All right, here's Daniel's question, Michael.
Okay.
Daniel has how many paintings at his home that he made himself? 1, 3, 4, or 5?
Wow, that's more than I expected. I thought there might be a 0 in there. That he's painted himself. It might have been a past guest showcase. So I'm going to go with 1.
You are incorrect. It is 3.
3. Wow.
He is a budding artist and you didn't even know it.
See that. Visual artist. I guess not. He never brings it up. Nice. Yeah, great. That's our simple trivia. It's always fun, so it's good. So our next game is called This or That. With that we have these things in the hat. And it's 2 options, coffee or tea, cats or dogs. And, Yeah, and I'll do the first one, I guess, just to show you how it goes. And we just discuss if you like either or not. So Let's see. I try not to look. I try not to cheat. Okay. This one is donkey or horse, if you had to choose.
Oh, definitely a horse. They're
Yeah.
way more graceful.
Fair, yeah. Yeah, I think I would also choose a horse. Being from southern Alberta, it's very, cowboys and horses. And
For sure.
Yeah.
Although donkeys can be really hilarious.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you seen some around?
Yes, one year my family and I participated in a live nativity, and my son was the stable boy, and he had to like stuff a carrot in the donkey's mouth because it was hee-hawing during like some really like quiet moments in the play. So it was funny.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. What a fun experience. Yeah, I guess we'll have you pick one.
Oops, I picked two.
Yeah, they're kind of all squished together.
Okay. Eclectic or modern?
Ooh, yes. I haven't had that one in a while. Yeah, I would say probably modern. Yeah, if I'm thinking of like my home or other things. Yeah, I think I like things to be fairly uniform and newish. So that's kind of where I would go with designing, I guess. How about you?
Yeah, probably more modern than eclectic. Yeah, I like a few little eclectic things, but yeah, new is good.
Yeah. Daniel, do you have any thoughts about whether you like modern or eclectic design?
I think I would have to go with also modern. But then like my general color palette is like, maybe a bit more rustic and stuff. So I don't know. I could be open to either. Yeah.
I like the stories behind eclectic stuff. I do like that.
Yeah, there's always some vintage thing that someone got. And yeah, but clearly we're all modern people. I don't remember having that question in there, so it's been a while. All right, I'll ask another one. All right. Flowers or chocolate?
Oh yeah, chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah. They last about the same amount of time, or actually less, but chocolate is pretty satisfying.
Nice, yeah. What kind is there a certain type of chocolate you like?
Oh, mint or peanut butter. Yeah.
Good choice.
From Purdy's, that's probably pretty good. Yeah.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, I would say also chocolate myself, and yeah, I like a nice dark chocolate, but definitely like the mint chocolate. My partner makes fun of me that mint chocolate's a silly thing, like mint chocolate chip ice cream. She makes fun of me for liking that. But
I know that's wrong.
yeah, I think it's good. I think it's delicious.
Yeah,
It doesn't
there's
taste like
nothing wrong with
toothpaste.
it. And
I
it
don't know what she's
doesn't.
talking about. Yeah,
That's right. So, you can eat chocolate and refresh your mouth at the same time. It's
I think
perfect.
it's great. So great. I'm glad we're on the same page. That's why we played this game. All right, I'll have you pick one.
Shoes or sandals?
Yeah. Yes, I've gotten this one before. And yeah, I would say for me, sandals. Yeah, I like summertime and it's very, freeing just to wear a nice pair of sandals, or we'll do lots of backcountry hiking and camping. And after you've been wearing your hiking boots all day, getting to a nice pair of sandals is always refreshing. Maybe jump in a lake or something. So
Very true.
I would say sandals. And you?
Crocs. Something in between. Yeah,
Yes, sandal
I
shoes.
did really like shoes this summer, but yeah, Crocs are for sure kind of what my go-to still
Yeah.
until the snow drops.
Right? Yeah, it gets a bit tricky. I know my sister-in-law and my brother, they wear their like Birkenstock sandals like year-round. They wear socks and they wear it in the winter.
Too funny.
Right. Daniel, do you have any thoughts about shoes or sandals for yourself?
I would also be on the Crocs bandwagon. I love my Crocs. My mom wears Crocs. It's a thing. Yeah.
All right. Kind of a hybrid, yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
I even got matching colored Crocs with my son this summer. It was great.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Great. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll do maybe one more each. Why
Sure.
not? Before we move on. All right. Well, this kind of relates. Winter or summer? You prefer?
Oh, summer
Yeah.
by far, because I don't like having to restrain my feet because I use my feet for everything. So, of course, I wear socks and boots in the winter, but yeah, summer is much more comfortable for me. So,
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, and I think, it's tricky because I like summer. I like, again, lots of camping and hiking. I also like winter. Like it's hard to choose, but I would say, sure, why not? I would say winter this time because I like to do lots of hiking, snowshoeing, skiing in the winter, and I think a lot of people stay inside in the winter, which is understandable, but it's nice to get out to the mountains and experience winter in that place because it's so beautiful and everything's just so crisp. So I'm going to go with winter this time. Yeah.
There you go.
All right, we'll go one more for you, and then we'll play our other game.
Bury or cremate?
Okay, we're going there. I guess if I had to choose right now, I would say cremate. I've never really thought about it, but that would be my choice. And how about you?
Yes, my husband and I were talking about this the other day. He randomly said that you can actually pay to be buried in the ocean if you want.
Okay.
And we both decided we didn't want that.
No.
So probably bury in the ground.
Maybe a little
Yep.
traditional, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess, and I if there was a third option, there isn't, but I would say like one of those like green burials. I try to do like environmental
become a
stuff.
tree.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So
Yep.
like that would be kind of burying, not cremating, but yeah, it would become a tree. I have donated my body to science, but that's not an option on this paper. So yeah, Daniel, do you have any thoughts about bury or cremate since we're going there?
I would probably also take the tree route. I actually just performed a song the other day called Acorns and Oak Trees. I love nature, so if I could be a part of that in the long run, that's what I'd choose. Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, that's the last question we're asking for this or that. There's been some interesting ones. Yeah, that's good.
For sure.
Yeah. So our last little icebreaker game. Let's straighten this out. This is the tumbling towers. Have you played the tumbling tower?
I sure have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're pretty loose. So if you don't have to you can just touch it and feel around and whatever one works best for you. And then so each one corresponds to a number, and that's just like an open-ended question, like what's your perfect day look like or something. So yeah, go for it.
Question 18.
18. Then we'll put it on top. 18. Oh, I like this one. It's a good question. Very thoughtful. They're all very thought-provoking. What's something that takes a lot of time but is definitely worth it? Anything you do in your daily life that?
Oh, yeah. I think having a daily exercise routine. It takes time, and I sometimes really don't want to do it, but then I feel really good afterwards that I did.
Makes
do
sense.
it.
Yeah. What sort of exercises do you like to do?
I do like aerobic and stepping. And then this past year, I've incorporated weight training a couple times a week. And that's the one that does take a lot more time, but I've definitely seen the good results and feel like stronger and better because of it.
Makes sense, yeah. I guess I shouldn't assume that you like to do it. Maybe it's kind of a thing you don't like to do, but
well, it depends.
some days.
And then, I mean, I think the fun thing that my husband and I do together is we have a tandem recumbent bike that we bike on. So that's a fun thing we like to do.
Yeah, so kind of training for that a little bit, or getting your cardio in. Nice.
Yep.
I like that. It's a good answer, yeah. Oh, what is my answer today for this one? I guess I would say the one that comes to mind first is for like a decade now, I've been like journaling every day.
Oh, that's a hard one.
Yeah, and I just got into the habit of it. So it's kind of like a reflection thing at the end of the day. And I found that, I think that takes time and a bit of dedication, but I find that's often worthwhile for just that habit and the mental health and stuff. And now I just like doing it. So
that's
my
really
answer.
good. You've gotten to that point.
Right? Yeah, it became a habit. So, Daniel, was there anything that you can think of that takes time but is definitely worth it?
For me, like as of late, I just been making a habit of going for sunset walks. Just like it's a lovely way to like round out the day, and then like because I've been doing it over the course of probably a year now, it's like really interesting getting to the same space and watching the sunset, and so just like an appreciation of like how the environment, like the city in which I live, changes over the course of a year. So yeah, that's what I would say.
That sounds great.
I like
What a
that.
great answer. Yeah, nice. All right, I know we're wrapping up this segment here soon, but I guess I got to do at least one. Maybe do two. Ooh, this one's very loose. Nice. 47. Got to flip the page. Yeah, so what's one sentimental item that you've kept? sentimental person? Or?
Yeah, no, I do have some sentimental items. Oh, I'm trying to
Right.
yeah, upstairs I have a handkerchief from both my grandma and my grandpa. They both gave me a handkerchief. So, I mean, my grandpa's just this kind of plaid flannel kind of type of handkerchief, and he always had one in his pocket, and that's just what they did. And then my grandma's is embroidered, and it was actually lost for a year. I think it got put in with the Christmas decorations one year, and then it appeared again this year, and I was so grateful. So
Nice. Well, that's lovely. Yeah. Is there any significance around the handkerchiefs other than just like your grandfather had it?
I think they just lived in an era where they always had a handkerchief. Where we live in an era where we have Kleenex in our pocket or whatever, and so it's just a significant part of the time that they grew up in, and it helps me remember them. So
That's lovely. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I think for me, I'm kind of think of my grandparents as well. I have my chef's knife from my grandmother on my dad's side, and I remember being a kid, and we'd be in the kitchen, and she'd always be cooking things up, and we'd be helping as much as we could. And when she passed away, that's something that I was able to take with me, and I use it all the time. And funny enough, actually, I use it with a cutting board that my father made, so it's kind of like the multi-generational cooking. I always, those two things really, I use them every day, and then they're made to be used, and I like to have that memory as well.
I love it.
Yeah, nice. Do we want to do one more, Jenga?
Sure.
Sure, why not? So we'll do one more question. They're just so fun.
Okay, 28.
28. So be our last one for sure. All right. This is a totally different direction. What's a TV series you binge watched?
Oh, too many.
Too many, yeah. Anything come to mind? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. We just finished watching Wednesday. That was our latest one. And then we go into a little bit of a kick of watching crime documentaries and kind of binge watch those. And then we take a break from a while because we realize they kind of make us a little like disturbed. And so we watch something a bit happier, I guess. So
Makes sense,
yeah.
Nice. The one that comes to mind for me from a number of years ago, I remember watching it's called White Collar. It was all about white
yes,
collar
I remember
crime.
that one. That was a good one too.
Yeah, it was like a TV show. It was okay, but it was just very easy to watch. And I remember getting the DVD set, and it was it's a fun show. It's always kind of the same. It always ends the same, but it's fun. So.
Yeah. I usually tend to like the ones that are like inspiring or like real life type stories. Yeah.
Right. Nice. Well, I think that is all the time we have for this segment.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's been fun to play some games with you. So this has been On Location here in Lethbridge. I'm Michael.
I'm Daniel, and this has been
Annae.
Great. All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to On Location here in Lethbridge. I'm Michael.
I'm Daniel, and this is...
Annae.
Great. Yeah, so yeah, it was really fun to play some games with you and A and learn that we both like mint chocolate.
That's
So
right.
that's great. So now we're friends. And I like biking too, actually. I don't know if I mentioned that. But so we like to bike and eat chocolate. So
There we go. We
good.
could combine the two.
we got our plans for after the
That's right. That's all I
feature.
can think about is chocolate now.
Right, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, obviously I'm really curious about your artistic practice and I'm curious about your journey as an artist. That's what this segment is about. And yeah, and learning about you. So I guess to start, I know you kind of said it the last segment, but yeah, just tell me briefly about your art. What sort of art do you make?
Sure. Yeah. So I do all sorts of art. I really like to experiment in my art and just see what I can put together. So as I said, I started out just painting acrylic and landscape, and then through my different art learning, through mentorship, I started getting exposed to different things. So then I started to, expand my subject, and I started to expand the materials that I was using. And then the ideas started forming, and my own kind of style started emerging out of it, which was really great. So I do anything from very representational to very abstract work that is not representational at all to things in between that are semi-abstract or whimsical in nature. I did a series the other year of sheep doing human things, and they were very whimsical and textured and a lot of fun. And so yeah, I like piecing things together, doing a lot of texture in my work, using a lot of color and creating some kind of narrative. Art for me is also a bit of a release. It leaves a lot of like pressure and stress in my life and just allows me to go beyond maybe borders that I feel kind of placed in having a disability, where I have kind of borders around me sometimes, and art allows me to just expand those borders and break them down. So
Lovely. Yeah, no, that's really fascinating. Yeah, I think, although I want to get into all those details,
For sure.
to start with, I guess, so yeah, you're primarily painting is the medium you're using. And when did you start painting?
yeah, so that was really interesting. I did a little bit of art in high school. I thought I actually wanted to be a graphic artist, and my art was really not very good back then, and I didn't get into graphics art school, and so I became a technical writer instead. And then I got married, and we started having our family, and so all of that kind of took a break. And then in 2015, I had a friend invite me to a paint night, and it was the most liberating experience I'd had in a really long time. And at one point, I abandoned my brushes and just got my toes in the acrylic paint and was using my toes to move paint around. And so then we just started going to paint nights, and then I started inviting friends over to paint at my house. And then in 2018, I went to a conference in Houston for bilateral limb difference. And I met a couple other women down there that also paint with their feet. And they're members of the International Association of Mouth and Foot Painters. And they're like, hey, Annae, you should apply to become a member. And so on the eve of my 40th birthday, I said, what the heck? I have nothing to lose. So I applied. It was a year-long process. I had to, go for doctor's appointments to verify that, in fact, I can only paint with my feet and I don't have other appendages that I'm painting with. I had to do 6 new original works, which at that point, nothing felt original to me. I was still in the look at something and copy it. And then, did an interview with them. It was during COVID, so regularly they would have come up and done an in-person interview with me, but instead we had to do it over Zoom, and I had to paint for them as well. So there's a lot of pressure. And then my works went to a jury. And then it was December 18th of 2020. I found out I became a student member with their association. So I'm one of the Canadian foot painters. And then it's kind of skyrocketed from there. I'm like, okay, now I need to really learn how to paint and develop the skill and just go with this, this new thing that all of a sudden is really exciting me. So
Yeah. Oh, it's an amazing story of how you started and that journey so far. And yeah, and I guess, yeah, well, I mean, that sounds like a very rigorous process to become a student for that association. But yeah, I guess other than your friend inviting you to be part of that, I guess, what made you want to join that association as a student?
Yeah, I think it just being able to express myself artistically awakened something for me. For a time, I actually did some blog writing, and that was really like liberating for me too, to be able to share the ideas and thoughts that were in my mind and how I've observed life in the world, and viewing it differently through someone with a disability is different than maybe able-bodied person. So my be able to now extend that into my artistic practice is really great. And I wouldn't say like my art is anything like trying to tell a social story at all, but it's the process and how I make it really mirrors how I approach my life. So every day is kind of troubleshooting and maybe figuring out a different way how to do a different task. And so my artwork is kind of how I approach my artwork is kind of mirrors that. So I try to approach life with joy and optimism. There's a lot of troubleshooting sometimes and modifying and adapting, and I see that happening in my work all the time, which is really exciting. And especially when I do my mixed media work and collage, it's like putting a puzzle together, and I get such like a thrill of it all coming together, which mirrors my life when I've had to figure out a difficult task. I've had it's such a high feeling, I guess, when you figure out a problem, solve a problem. I remember when I was just little, the school playground that I grew up on in school, they didn't have steps up to the slide. It was it was high for me. It felt really high platform, and I would watch kids go up and down this all the 30 minutes of recess. And one day there was an old tire in the playground, and I looked at that tire and I'm like, I think I can use that tire to get up on the platform. And so I used this tire to get up on the platform, and then I was like slowly making my way up on the different platforms, being careful that no one, knocked me off. And it took me all recess to get to the top of this platform, and then all for like a 3-second ride down this tunnel slide. But I just felt so like elated that I had solved the problem. And so I definitely see that's how I approach my art as well. So art is really exciting for me, and it just lets me kind of relieve all those, I guess, feelings and pressure that you feel in life into my art, but in like a joyous way as well. And especially with my sheep series, it allowed me to tell a story in kind of a comical and whimsical way, but to share what I've observed or how I wish I could have lived life as well. So it touches all of those points as well.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that story about being a kid and overcoming that challenge. That's amazing. Yeah, I guess just going back to like you were a student of the organization. I guess like were you? Because I know you are involved in a lot of different organizations for limb differences. Were you already involved with those things before you started painting?
I was.
Yeah, when did that start?
Yeah, so other organizations that I'm involved with, so I'm a lifetime member of the War Amps of Canada. So that was started by war veterans after World War I, and then carried on, and they welcomed war veterans from World War II who had lost limbs. And then in 1975, they started the child amputee program because the war veterans noticed there were a lot of kids in Canada who were missing limbs and needed that peer support as well. So I grew up benefiting from going to child amputee seminars all through my growing years. And then what that evolved into is all these graduates of the child amputee program have become regional representatives for the organization. So most or all of those war veterans have passed on. And so now as a regional representative, I get to carry on their legacy and continue the work that they did. So I represent them at local things. So sometimes those are little get-togethers, so these families can reconnect with each other. It's so important as, you know, a person living without limbs, be able to meet other people that are like you and to share experiences and to problem solve together. Sometimes it's been TV interviews. I've been on a film for them as well that won some international awards called Annae's Journey. That's a really long ago film, but so I help in whatever way I can now. And then also through them, I came in contact with an organization in the States called Enhancing Skills for Life, and they are also a charity that supports those missing both arms or more. And so I went to a conference for them in 2018, and then again 4 years later, and I'm going again in October now, and I've been on their board since after the first meeting, so I've helped with that. And then there's more adults at this conference, so it's been really neat. So the first time I went, this was kind of a cool moment. I knew there's this woman that flew a plane without arms. Her name's Jessica Cox, and I walk into this room and there's Jessica Cox, and it was like meeting my hero, and like it was like meeting a movie star. And then I learned that she saw me and she had seen a video of me riding a bike, and that's what inspired her how to figure out how to ride a bike as well. So she was also starstruck, and so it's been really neat to have that continued support into my adult years, because it's not, you know, when you become an adult, you don't all of a sudden grow your arms back. They're still missing. So it's been neat to be able to work with both organizations and see how they support those living with limb difference in different ways. So
I was curious where that was in your journey as well. I could have more questions about that, but we can kind of stick with the artistic side.
Sure.
And I guess so you were a student and you had to create those 6 original pieces. I guess what was that like for you to have to do that? You said you were still pretty new into the process, right?
Oh yeah, it was really like overwhelming, because they wanted me to put something forward that was original, and I just really wanted to get accepted into the program, which was great. But now, I mean, it's a lot different now. Like the expectations have grown on me, and I have higher expectations for myself now. So what I try to send to them now is a much higher caliber of work than what I sent them originally. So how my contract with them works is I have a 3-year contract with them. So I'm coming up for my second renewal next year. I provide them with 15 paintings over a 3-year period. So they have to be original paintings, so not copying from anyone else. Initially that felt really daunting, and now I'm like, that's all I want to do is create my own original work. And just share the beauty that we have around us. And that's the great thing about art. And then they can choose to reproduce those paintings. So I've had a few reproductions with them already, and then in return I get a monthly scholarship that helps support my artistic growth and supplies and all of that. So if you see like the cards or the calendars or whatever, they're all done by mouth or foot painters across the world, and it enables them to be able to work and also pursue that artistic development. So
it sounds really rewarding.
It is.
Maybe hard to get into, but once you're in,
and then you have to just keep on working to stay in. So
it's good. Like you said, and that's what you want to be doing. You want to be sending original works. And like the other organizations that you're involved with, like, is there opportunities to connect with other artists in that group, even online or at conferences?
I've connected with for sure. I connect with different people through the limb difference communities. I'm actually going to Ottawa next weekend to be with the other regional representatives. We meet together once a year and share ideas, and we're going to be able to share kind of what our impact has been this year and the different events that we've been involved in. So I'll be able to share that, and that will be really great. And then with the Enhancing Skills for Life, I will help with some of the groups as well. And it's very much like a amputees helping amputees philosophy, and that's the Waramps philosophy, and be able to share, this has worked for me and might work for you. And I mean, going back to art, that's kind of how art is like for me as well, and having other peers to bounce ideas off of and share, say, hey, this is a really cool technique, why don't you try it? And I just really have a lot of joy in helping others develop an artistic expression.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, I'm glad that you could help others as well. That's awesome. Yeah, and I guess so. So you made those 6 pieces, and then I guess like what would have come next in your artistic journey?
Sure. So yeah, with the with my contract with the Mouth and Foot Painters Association, so I provide them with 5 paintings every year. So I've been doing that for the last 6 years. And then my responsibility in that is to really devote myself to developing my artistic skills and development. So some of that has come, I use some of the scholarship to take workshops and online mentorship. So the last 4.5 years, I've been taking online mentorship through a company called Mastrius. They are founded through Calgary, and they connect us with their small groups on Zoom once a month. And you meet with your mentor, who could be from all across the world, and they help meet you where you're at. So you would tell your mentor what you want to learn, and then the mentor would come back and say, okay, this is what we're going to learn this session. They give you feedback on homework. You have what's called a navigator in the session, who's also an artist, who's being mentored, but they help facilitate the session, and they meet with you and the other group members one other time during the month. So you have that peer-to-peer relationship as well. So yeah, since I I've started with one mentor. My first mentor was David Langevin, and then I'm like, maybe I'll add one more, and I added Bobby Dunlop and then Veronica Funk, and I stayed with them for a time, and then all of a sudden I went from 3 mentors to 5 mentors pretty consistently. So, and it's been neat because they all have different styles, and in some ways that can be a little bit hard if you're really trying to focus in on one style, but I really liked it because it's opened my mind to so many other different techniques and ideas and ways of approaching my art.
Yeah. And are you having like one mentor at a time, or is that like all like 5 sometimes?
Right now I have 4 mentors.
Okay, simultaneously.
So yeah, so we meet, I mean, none of them overlap, but right now most of mine meet in the 3rd week of the month, which gets a little bit tricky because we always have a homework assignment. So getting all of that managed and done, but yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And I know you said helped you like discover your artistic vision and what you do. But yeah, I guess, was there anything kind of that comes to mind? Maybe just one of your mentors, like something that's significant that they brought to you that made you improve your art or change your art?
Yeah, I can think of several actually. So David Langevin and Bobby Dunlop really taught me a lot of just about like the tools and the materials and the quality of materials that I should be using to create my art, and creating that depth in my work, which I'm still working on. And then I had this mentor, Sandra Duran-Wilson, and she's a mixed media artist, and she introduced me to all these fun mixed media techniques, and I've had so much fun experimenting and incorporating it into my own practice. And last year I actually had the opportunity to go and do an in-person workshop with Sandra, and that was so neat to meet my mentor in person. And then I've had other mentors like Samantha Williams-Chapelski, who's an Alberta artist here, and Cameron Schmitz, who lives in the States. They've just helped me like really kind of understand why I'm painting what I'm painting, and to encourage me in the style that I'm pursuing, and helping me with that business side of art making as well. Because unfortunately, there's that side of the art industry as well. Like the fun part is the art making, and then the hard part is kind of the business side of it.
Well, yeah, I'm always curious about that. Yeah, tell me more about like the business side of making your art.
Oh yeah, so one of my groups right now, with Cameron, we're working on updating our website. So I've spent a significant amount of time this month updating my website and making sure that things are organized in a better way. And so it's just very inviting for people to come in, and kind of my next step will be working on, those artist statements and then drawing people to my website. And the one I've been avoiding for a while is newsletter writing. And I don't know why, but I've put a big block in that, but that's a great way for me to connect with my followers and build a relationship with them, is to give them an insight into my studio practice and what I've been up to. So
yeah. So that's something maybe it doesn't quite come as naturally to you, like the business side.
it is. And I mean, having the confidence to talk to people about your work and to ask to be at places, like that's something I've learned through Master Race as well. And I would never have had the confidence before to, when I had my first solo show in Fort Macleod, I would never have had the confidence before to even like go to one of those events and ask if I could have one myself. So yeah, the business side is something I'm really growing with, and it is important. It is an important part of if you want to grow as an artist. But for me, it's always a balance, because I don't want that part to then take away from the actual art making as well. So it's the management of all of that time and making sure I'm spending sufficient amount of time doing the business side, but enough time creating and growing as an artist. So
No, it makes sense. You have to kind of find a balance, I think, or else you just wouldn't be making art.
No, that's right. And then you don't grow, and then you don't learn. So
right, yeah. And what was that like going and like approaching people to like ask to have your art in their gallery or put on a show?
Oh yeah, it's very scary and intimidating. And I think I've even come to the point now, like I've realized I don't have to say yes to everything that comes up either, that I have to make sure it's a good fit for me. But yeah, I remember showing one gallery owner, I went into her store and talked to her, and she read right on my Instagram, and it became very apparent to me. I'm like, of things I should be changing and being more mindful on how I display my art in my Instagram. That was kind of like, and thankfully I'd had some new works in there, and there was kind of like a cohesive kind of series kind of at the moment. And then when it came to Fort Macleod, I had a friend that was doing a show there, and I went and talked to one of the organizers and just said, oh yeah, I was very timid and shy. I'm like, I just wanted to see what one of these were like. I'm an artist too. And that took a while to actually like call myself an artist. I think it was early last year or late the year before, that I used to have the tag Barefoot Art in YQL, and I decided I shouldn't be hiding behind a fun name anymore, that I needed to actually just come out as an artist. And so I changed my tag to Annae Jones Artist, because I need to embrace that title. And yeah, anyway, so when I talked to Fort Macleod Allied Arts, I was so timid and scared to ask her, and kind of like, and she was so nice. I just said, I was thinking about maybe doing a show sometime. She's like, well, we can have you in here, which was great. It was, she created a really safe space for me to be able to practice that. And, I got to put all these neat things to practice that I'd learned in my mentorship, like creating, labels on the back of my paintings that had my name and kind of my branding colors, and, all these different aspects that led up to the show. It wasn't just curating and creating as much artwork. I had to think about things that fit together, that were in series, and then thank you cards and all these little other aspects that I would never have thought about if I hadn't learned it from mentorship and from other artists as well.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great. And I guess we can segue into that. So that first solo show of yours, I know it's kind of like midway in your CV, but let's talk about it. So you got that going, and I guess what was that like to open your first solo show in Fort Macleod?
It was amazing. I mean, Tilly that I worked with, she was so supportive and helpful, and I was so grateful to her. It was definitely emotional. I tried to, I had a lot of people through Masterus that wanted to be there and couldn't be there because they live farther away. And sorry.
So good.
They wanted to be there, so I had my husband do a live Instagram, and that was so emotional. I couldn't keep it in, like it, and he was so good. He was like, "You can do it." I'm like, "Okay, I can do it," and just welcomed everyone, and gave them a tour of my art. And then I just had so many great people show up, family and friends, people I didn't even know were going to show up to the show, people I'd never met, and came to the opening reception, and it was great. And I mean, I think for me, I took a lot of pressure off myself because sometimes as artists, you can get pigeonholed and told, well, that's your style then, and that's what you have to paint all the time. And I really fight that a lot because sometimes I really want to paint something representational. And you'll see in my studio today, I'm working on something very representational, and I have to be in the right mind frame to do that. But after I'm done this, I will probably want to do some abstract or some mixed media because I actually have to like release my mind, because some types of painting are a lot more stressful for me and just mentally wearing down. And so I like painting different things. And so my show in Fort Macleod was a mixture of all those things, but it was neat how like textures and colors related to each other. And I found threads in them, even though the abstracts were over here, and then I had my whimsical sheep, and then I had some very abstract type of work and mixed media, and then I had some very representational oil paintings. But it was neat how they all spoke. That's an A. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's great that you can go into different styles and things like that, and you're not limited by that. Because why would you? I mean, that's just who you are, and that's your art. So
that's right.
Like that's great that you're embracing that, and it's wonderful. Yeah. I guess with that solo show, like I'm so happy that it was such a positive experience and obviously so great for you. Did that feel like kind of like a shift in your art from like doing other people's shows to doing your own solo show?
Oh, for sure. It just helped me grow up a little bit as an artist. And then you fall back into some of that imposter syndrome. Like that's kind of been this year a little bit of kind of like pulling back a little bit and being a little bit scared and timid. And, so I'm having to push myself to put myself out there to other places. I have a few different places that my art's up at in Lethbridge right now. And so that's, taking a bit of courage to put myself out there as an artist, and then also respecting myself of giving me this year of just going back to experimenting and just working on my art and not feeling that pressure that, okay, I had this huge, great, successful show in Fort Macleod, and now everything after that has to top it. And I've realized it doesn't have to top it. So I've had some shows, I've been in a couple other shows since then, like group shows, and some have been successful like in sales and some haven't, and that's okay. And so it's helped me realize it's just a journey, and it's kind of a up and down journey. It's a hill ride, not like a straight climb up.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad you've realized that, and that sounds like a very healthy approach for sure, than not having that expectation of my next show has to be, or anything I do has to be bigger and better. And that's good. And that really interests me, like even like back to your like when you changed your online name to something a bit more just your name, and it felt like maybe a shift as well of professionalism or how you see yourself as an artist.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I don't know, can you tell me a little bit more about like after the solo show, maybe some of the other another show you might have been involved with?
Sure. Yeah, I was in the second year I've done it. It's the Pied Art Squared show out in Toronto. So that show's unique in that we all paint on round canvases. They're called tondos. There's a company out in Ontario called the Rustic Burl that makes these homemade canvases, and they're really beautiful out of maple. They're solid. So that's a neat show in that everyone paints on these 12-inch round tondos. So, the one year I had everything sell out. The next year I didn't have anything sell, but it was okay. Like I realized I'm like, it's okay to have some inventory because I've been able to push those things to other places as well. And it's about, experimenting and pushing myself as an artist. And, if I apply again to that show, then I'll, rethink, okay, what do I need to maybe do differently or approach differently? I'm trying to think. This year I've more had my works in places. So I have, a few things at the little bakehouse here in Lethbridge. I have some of my paintings up at the Allied Arts Lethbridge workshop. And right now I have a series of paintings at Frank's Redwood Cafe, the Waffle House. And so that's been neat. I had some things up at the Penny earlier this year as well, and sold some things through them as well. So I think initially I thought of all these like shows beyond Lethbridge, and this year has been more focusing on like being in Lethbridge and showing my art in person, because there's something about seeing art in person that is very different than seeing a picture. And because I work in very textured and layered ways, a photo of my work isn't always a great representation of what it really is. And so I guess my goal really has been to have more in-person stuff this year, which I guess if you look at where I'm putting my art, I've achieved that goal. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And I mean, it feels like potentially that could be very meaningful. I guess now that you're doing that, you're putting more of your art locally. Have you had like any sort of like reaction, like in person? Have you met people who've seen your art and been giving feedback at all?
I have a couple. I've had a few friends reach out and say, hey, I went to have waffles and I saw your artwork on the wall. And so that was really exciting. Or when it was up at the Penny, then I had a couple people, strangers, reach out and just say how much they liked my artwork. So that was great. And then I'm actually working towards, this is my first time doing a market. So I'm going to be at Casa's Christmas at Casa market. So I'm really busy preparing for that right now. And that feels like not just making enough art that feels a challenge, but I've always gone to markets and felt a little like, oh, I don't think I want to do that. And so this is going to be a big hurdle for me mentally to just, be myself and how to interact with people and, let them observe the art without being, pushy at all, but also be there to, talk to them about my process and why I paint what I paint. And so it'll be, a big growing experience, I think, for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sounds very different than like a solo show or displaying your art.
Most of the shows I've been in have been online shows. Like I've been with Pie Art. I did Square Foot Show one time, and then several shows through Mastrius as well. And it's, those are easier in some ways because you get to hide at home and not be in person. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I hope the Christmas at Casa goes well. And
thank you.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be a great experience, and getting out there. I think that would be really rewarding. So, I think we are getting close with our time on the interview portion. One we always try to ask people, we can fit it in. Our last question is, how has your artistic practice, how has that like influenced your everyday life?
I think in a lot of ways, maybe in some ways I've become a little more of a hermit. I want to be in my studio a lot. So that, good and bad, I guess. I think it's really helped my confidence. I have a greater desire to help others explore and discover their artistic expression. I kind of say, hey, because people will say, oh, I'm not artistic and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I didn't think I was. I didn't know I had it in me, because people look and like, oh, that's so inspiring. And I'm like, yeah, but I wasn't painting 10 years ago. So, I think there's a lot more in us than we realize. And then I think it's just helped me realize like there's no arriving with anything that we do in our lives. That, there's growing and learning. There's moments of, like that makes sense and that works. And then we just continue on to a new chapter. And I love how my art can kind of mirror my life and back and forth, and really working hard on expressing my feelings through my art. That is kind of one that's been in the back of my mind, and I've started doing that with my one series that's up at the Waffle House right now, the Life Sojourn series, and that just touches on some really deep feelings and beliefs that I have, and because I've always wanted to, connect my feelings and beliefs into my art, and I didn't know how to do that. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of how I connect life and art. And I'm not sure I answered your question very well.
Yeah,
but-
of course you did. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, I really love that sentiment. And yeah, and I'm also very interested to learn more about, you exploring those things in your art. Maybe in the showcase we can talk more about
For sure.
the deeper meaning behind that and stuff like that'd be good. So yeah, thank you so much for this chat. I really enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So this has been On Location here in Lethbridge. I'm Michael.
I'm Daniel, and this has been
Annae.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hello and welcome to On Location in Lethbridge. I'm Daniel.
I'm Michael, and this is...
Annae.
Yes, I thoroughly enjoyed your conversations with Michael there.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you so much for inviting us into your space. And I'm so excited to do our showcase segment with you. Yeah, I think we'll just dive right in, I think, to one of the first pieces that you were able to share with us digitally. And I will also recall in your conversation with Michael, you mentioned that like sometimes, there is a difference between seeing your pieces in person and virtually, but we do have images of one piece of yours, which was called Sacred Journey. What can you tell me about that piece and what was going on? Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a really interesting piece because it became a series. I just felt like playing one day in the studio, so I slathered on a whole bunch of different acrylic textures on on 3 panels actually. And then I chose a different color palette than I usually do. I just changed up the 3 colors that I was using. Actually, I think I did 2 colors and then I added a gold to it. And then I just started painting intuitively, making marks and all these things. And then all of a sudden a figure emerged. And quite often when I'm doing abstract work, people say they see figures in my work, and I'm not necessarily intending to make a figure, but this figure emerged. Just this character emerged, this person going on a journey. And as my series kind of grew and developed, I went back and kind of altered these original 3 pieces that I did to kind of farther define this character of a woman going on a journey, a life sojourn. And so the intent of that piece is really that we're here for a purpose, and it's not just about, self-gratifying ourselves and just doing things for ourselves, but that we have a reason for being here, and that we're here together in this world because we're here to help each other. And so to me, that is something that's sacred, the sacred journey that we have of finding out why we're here and what we can do to, leave the world in a better place.
Yeah, and that is like one of the striking things about that piece for me was that it is very much a figure, the central focus of it. And it's really interesting how that sounds like it was quite an organic process. Like you didn't necessarily start with the idea of that figure in mind, but that they just kind of came about as you were, kind of practicing.
And then I was learning all these things about this character, like that she was, I innately believe there is the same worth in each of us. And, so painting her like she is royalty, and that she has this gift that she's needing to protect. And, all these things kind of mirrored my own kind of like spiritual beliefs and kind of my purpose here in life. So.
Super interesting. And then, you also mentioned that that was a part of a series.
Yes.
And in your conversations with Michael, there was conversations of like starting pieces individually. And then like, as you've kind of had more opportunities now you have to start thinking more broadly or maybe longer term. Was there any of that involved in that specific piece or series?
For sure. Yeah. So it started out as a series of 9 paintings, and I actually want to expand the series and hopefully get it up in somewhere locally here in Lethbridge, maybe Casa. But the second kind of segment in the series is all where kind of life falls apart. There's despair, there's, feelings of grief and aloneness and, just confusion and, forgetting of why you're here. And so the characters in that series are like, they're in danger. There's snakes, there's daggers, and there's, some red blood. Like I'm making it sound like it's really gory, but they still look really beautiful. There's a lot more tension in the piece. And then the last 3 are all about finding that calm again, and the motive of rescue and being saved, and like a savior. And so these women are then arriving at this beautiful white tree, arriving to where they were intending to go. And, that journey along the difficult part was all the learning and growing that they needed to do. And, we kind of start out life maybe a little naive and think, oh, this is my focus. And then you go through really hard things and your focus changes. And then you come maybe to the end and see how all those hard, muddy things in the middle made you, and maybe made a better version of yourself, and that refining and just returning back and that love and embrace. And so yeah, it's a really beautiful series that I'm hoping to actually expand and make some larger works from.
Yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, you mentioned feelings, and I'm just curious, like when you started that piece, like is it like there are feelings at the top of your mind, or is it like a process of like uncovering those and seeing what comes up through the piece? And
I think it's the uncovering part. It's kind of mining. Like I start with a very intuitive and just being loose and not really having an expectation of what it needs to be. But once that story started evolving, then the next pieces started having a little more intention in how I approach them. So less intuitive. I had to be a little more intentional, but I was still trying to make sure that I allowed those intuitive marks to happen in that layering and history. And, in my work, that's really important. I love that history and putting something down and taking it back and scraping back and adding to, and the color nuances. And, it just really reflects the depth and complexity of life, I think. So
absolutely, yeah. And then you had also mentioned that for that piece, you started with 2 colors primarily.
Mm-hmm.
Is that typically what you do? And then you added the gold, which I thought was beautiful in there.
Yeah.
But,
so I did, 2 colors, plus I might have had black and white in there, and then the gold. And the gold ended up kind of being a 3rd color, just the way I ended up using it. But that was very limited for me. Usually I will pick a blue, a yellow, and a red to work in. So this was really limiting myself more, which I actually really enjoy doing those types of exercises, because I don't get hyper focused on the details. Then I just kind of respond to the medium and the colors and see what you can do. And it's really amazing. Even with 2 colors and your black and white, you can make so many colors just with that. And in that respect, it's very freeing as an artist to you think you're being restrictive, but you're actually like allowing yourself to expand so much more because of those restrictions.
Beautiful. And then am I right in connecting the next piece, Arriving, is also part of that series?
It
or
is.
Is that a different part?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, what can you tell me about that piece? Because
Arriving?
what caught my ears in your interview with Michael was just this phrase of like, there's no arriving with anything in life. And it's all about the journey. And I just thought that was a really beautiful sentiment. And it kind of ties into the title of the piece, at least. But yeah, what more can you tell me about that piece?
Yeah, I think Arriving is just like those aha moments I was talking about, of just those feelings of peace and calm. Like you maybe have gone through something really difficult, and then you're on the other side and see like the perspective. It's kind of like doing a really hard hike and you think like, I'm never going to get to the top of this. And then you push through it and then you see this beautiful display, but that's really not the end of your journey. Like that was just a pivot point, and now you're on to the next thing. So, we maybe arrive to maybe a life lesson, or, maybe it's a faith journey or whatever, but then, the journey doesn't stop there. There's growing here, there's growing beyond. Like that's really arriving for me, is just, maybe different chapters in your life. And that's really kind of mirroring my life right now, where like my husband and I have just become empty nesters, and we're, we loved our last chapter, and why would you want to leave such a great chapter? But the chapter has to end at some point. And so now we get to open a new chapter and, start a new journey and arrive somewhere else.
And then actually, you mentioned a hike, but it actually brought to mind the playground and getting up onto it. And then the next part of the chapter, though, is going back down the slide and finding the next thing to
Finding
move
your
on to.
next adventure.
Yeah, beautiful. And in that piece, There's like almost a tree, right?
There is.
Kind of in the foreground, and the figures are in the background. And so is that what you're saying with like the, you know, the figure kind of appeared in a sacred journey, and then it's kind of like literally in the background almost, and it's
Yes.
kind of like the tree takes, I don't know, that's what caught my imagination.
Yeah, I
in
think the
piece.
tree is like the gift.
Right.
Like it represents love, but it also represents like what you get from going through the journey, like the lessons and the growth and the, you know, how you've grown as a person. And so yeah, the tree to me just represents that like growth and beauty, and you know, some of that refining in between is really ugly and gross and awful. But when we arrive to that kind of just that feeling of peace and like, I'm okay with this. Yeah.
Nice. Another piece that you shared with us that really caught my imagination was Within the Storm. What can you tell me about that piece?
Oh, okay. So in one of my mentorship groups, she had us quarter a page, and we were talking about, you know, light dominant, dark dominant in the painting. She kind of showed us, Susan Wolgar, she showed us her kind of method of doing these playful marks in the background, and then she brings it together, and then also limiting your palette. So this is 2 complementary colors. And so I had done these little studies, and I actually really liked the color relationship. So I'd actually done a color chart of these 2 colors plus black and white, and saw like I had a whole page full of different colors I could go in this series. And then the mark making, like to me, I love playing. I like taking all these scratchy tools out and scraping back and putting things on to make texture, like implied textures. And so I was inspired by these little pieces. I'm like, I kind of like those. And for a long time, I've had these empty 24 by 24 canvases that I wanted to replace some prints in one of my rooms of my house that I haven't liked for a really long time. And I've been too intimidated to feel like I could make something good enough to fill that space. And this was it. I'm like, I really like these. And so I finally got out this large easel that my husband had bought me several years ago for Christmas, and I'd never used. I took this big canvas, and then I just made all these marks and played and added in my dark and light. And then I started adding in all the color and the playing. And, you know, so Within a Storm kind of feels like that's how my mind works. I was just like, I was in a storm of flurry, grabbing this tool and that tool and making marks. And so that piece really represents kind of my playful side, and like the joy that I find in just being free and having no limitations. So
and I love the sentiment that you share there of like you know, pieces of art within your home, and you know, making something good enough. And I just feel like that might resonate for people. So
for sure.
what can you tell me about that? Like, how do you determine whether or not something's good enough, or does it change?
I think it changes all the time, because I think I look at, you know, 4 years ago and I thought, yeah, that is good enough. And now my perspective has changed of is not good enough anymore, because I've learned more. And you can't undo what you learn. You only get to put into practice what you learn. So yeah, I guess with that piece, it was really nice to have that moment of like, yeah, this is good enough, and I would like it on my wall as well. And I guess that's the greatest gift an artist can give themselves, is a piece of their own art.
That is beautiful. Oh my gosh. Nice. Let's move on, because I don't have any immediate thoughts with that. I would usually let that simmer, but
well, I was gonna say so that piece has a partner piece as well. So that piece was very like it was low key, so more dark than light.
Yeah.
And it is like there's all that chaos. It feels like a storm. And then the next one has all this light breaking through. So again, it's just this feeling of like we're in a storm sometimes, and then we break free from it, and then there's all this beauty and light. And so that, I mean, having those as a paired piece together is really like, I don't know, satisfying as an artist to see a narrative in the work. And because sometimes, abstract work can be really difficult to, what does it mean? And, part of it is just like, I was just having fun.
Yeah.
Right? For me, a lot of times it's afterwards, after I sit and analyze and kind of like, what was I thinking during that time? Or like, because some artists will be like, I'm thinking about this and that's what I'm going to paint abstractly. And I don't really work that way. It's the opposite, that I reflect afterwards. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And that was, I painted those during like lots of changes were happening in my family this year. And, so this really kind of felt like creating the storm and then bringing it in and having some calm and peace.
And I love that because with the contrast, it's almost like the story or meaning is outside of the paintings, like it's your life in between them. Anyway, beautiful. Okay, let's move on to our next piece here. What can you tell me about this piece?
Sure. Yeah. So this is one of my homework pieces for one of my groups, and I've really struggled with painting representationally this year. It's something I've been like struggling mentally to want to do, but I also want to get better at it. So I've painted this piece a couple times now, but I've always done it in black and white, or one time I did it in purple, monochromatic purple. So this time I'm like, okay, the challenge was to make it bigger. So the original was like 6 by 8. So this is 16 by 20.
Wow.
And then the other challenge I gave myself was to add the color into it. So this is, in progress right now. I'm looking forward to getting some feedback on it, because having another artist's eye on it really helps you, like, oh, I didn't think about that. And, this is not sitting right, or I need to push that back farther. And I love getting that feedback and other people's perspective on it. So
nice. Yeah. And I just love hearing that journey of black and white, monochromatic, and then like adding color and texture, and also just the criticism, and that's sounds like a welcome thing for you, right?
It is. Yeah, it is. And you learn how to also self-critique your work. I've never would have learned that otherwise through mentorship. I've really learned. I'm like, oh right, like I can see things now that I didn't see before. So
nice.
Yeah.
We are close to the time for our segment, but I would be remiss if we didn't talk about these.
Sure.
So what can you tell me about these pieces?
These are some of my funnest things to do. I just started making, for my first solo show, I was getting really exhausted by making my sheep, and I needed a bit of a mental break. And so I started doing these mixed media collage flowers. And it starts with like taking some Bristol board, and I apply some texture to it, and then I paint it. So this has a glass bead gel on it. And then I cut them out into pieces, and then I piece it together like a puzzle. The background on this is really textured. It actually came from a mistake that I had made. I had applied something that had parchment on the back, and I had done this whole flower painting on it, and the edges were peeling up. And I literally took my palette knife, and the entire painting came off the canvas. And I was like, oh no. But it was such a great learning, because there was this cool texture that was left on the background. I'm like, I want to recreate that. So then I started experimenting how to purposely create a background like that. And then, this just kind of speaks to how I like to work. I create these florals that, they are just about happiness and bringing joy. But then they're like a puzzle for me, because I'm piecing together shapes and colors and making it all work together. So this piece and some others are going to be at the Christmas at Caswa market in November.
Yes, that's awesome. And this one uses beeswax?
This one's not beeswax. This is all acrylic, but I have started doing some florals in caustic, which is beeswax, but I also have been starting to do, these are vessels, they're bowls, and they're made out of beeswax. So you create a mold, and then I've added in more wax and color and scraping in, and then all the shiny stuff that you're seeing is mica powder. So I rub that on to make it look really shiny. And I mean, you don't want to eat out of these, but they're good to look at, or put some jewelry in or something like that. So it's kind of cool, because as an artist, I don't like staying with one thing. So, if I'm tired of doing this, then I go to my encaustic station, or I go to take out some pastel, or take out some oil, or whatever. So
nice. Wow. I love seeing like the variety, and it sounds like it speaks to your like playful nature and just wanting to play with lots of different things and see what you can do. So yeah, I think on that note, I think that is the time that we have.
Sounds good.
So thank you so much for your time and insight.
Thank you too.
Yeah, this has been On Location in Lethbridge. I'm Daniel.
I'm Michael, and this is
Annae.
Thank you so much for watching.